Hello and welcome into this week's edition of the ARCA Racing Series Rewind Show right here on Racing News Now. As always, I'm your host, Garth Allen. Thank you once again for joining me today. If this is your first time catching a Racing News Now video, welcome. This is a channel where we discuss lots of motorsports, namely NASCAR, ARCA, IndyCar, and Formula One. We do plan to broaden that scope eventually, but for now, that's what we cover. So on today's edition of the ARCA Racing Series Rewind Show, we are looking back at yesterday's Zomongo 200 from the Michigan International Speedway in Brooklyn, Michigan. Round number 7 of the 2018 ARCA Racing Series schedule. And to be completely honest, we're a little light on content today. Just haven't really been given much from ARCA for this one. Don't have highlights, don't have post-race interviews, haven't been able to get Sheldon Creed's schedule to line up with ours, so unfortunately we don't have anything from him today either. So we're a little light on content today. We have results and we have point standings. That's about it. So we'll go ahead and get into that. As we already mentioned, Sheldon Creed won yesterday's Zomongo 200, his first career ARCA Racing Series victory. He's been so close so many times this year. Other than the bad luck that he had at Toledo, he's had stellar performances in every single race so far this season, so it was only a matter of time. And he absolutely dominated this one. Took the lead at lap 34 and never gave it back for the rest of the race. Just completely dominated the second two-thirds of this race. Riley Herbst put together another strong run as well. That team finally seems to be clicking on all cylinders. Second place in this one for Riley Herbst. I think another win is only just around the corner for him. Has not picked up a victory this season. Only has one career ARCA Racing Series victory, that coming last year in the first Pocono race. But I think he's got a win right around the corner. He's been so close here for the past few weeks. That team is finally, I think, where it needs to be. So I think we're going to see at least one win out of Riley Herbst before the end of the season if they continue to run like this. Michael Self rebounds from a disappointing Charlotte race to finish third in this one. Probably had the fastest car in the field early on in this one, and then according to Michael, it just got really tight there in the later portions of the race, and he couldn't get it to turn exactly like he wanted it to. Third place was the best that Michael Self could muster in this one at the end of the race. Gus Dean put together a stellar performance this week in the fourth position. Finally seems to have gotten the bad luck off of his back. Has had so much bad luck this season, has put together some really good runs, and then for one reason or another just could not get the finish that team deserved. Finally was able to put it all together and get a top 5 finish this week. And then another great finish out of Joe Graff Jr. in this one. This kid was not planned to run a full schedule this season. Only had a few races scheduled for Chad Bryant Racing, and you know what? He impressed them enough that they gave him a full season, and he is really putting together some impressive runs with it. Started 25th in this race and ends up with a top 5 finish. Great job for Joe Graff Jr. Rest of your top 10, Will Rogers in that 52 car for Ken Schrader Racing. Max Tolman and Quinn Houff, the two Mason Mitchell Motorsports cars, put up some good runs this week in 7th and 8th. Leilani Munter, last car on the lead lap in 9th, puts together her second top 10 run of the season. Remember, she was in the top 10 at Daytona as well. And Cody Robaugh with another strong run. He rounds out the top 10 in 10th. Now as we look at 11th through 20th, Zane Smith had an off day, ends up one lap down here in the 11th position. I'm not really sure what the deal was there. It seemed to be fairly quick in the early portions of the race, and then for whatever reason just seemed to lose the speed throughout the race, and 11th was the best that he could do on the day. Travis Braden, another disappointing run for him, the guy that's 4th in points. 4 laps down in 12th on the day for Travis Braden. Chase Purdy, another disappointing run for an MDM car this week. 13th for him. And then Natalie Decker down here in the 15th position. Never really got a chance in this one. We don't really know what she could have done. Was not super fast in practice. I believe she was 17th in practice. Qualified 11th. And then didn't even make it to turn 1. And the left rear tire blows and she spins into turn 1. It just ruined the day from the very beginning. So it's another one of those things where we don't really know what Natalie could have done on the day because she never really got a chance to show it. And that's been the story of the season for Natalie Decker. It just seems like in one way or another she just has bad luck every single week, and you can't really get a gauge on how well she can run because we haven't really seen a race where she's had no bad luck whatsoever and she can just do what she wants to with the car. Hopefully that bad luck will go away eventually and we can see what Natalie Decker really can do, because I don't think we've been able to see that yet. There's a lot of folks out there saying that she shouldn't have that ride. I've seen a lot around the internet saying that she doesn't deserve to have that kind of a ride, that she doesn't have the talent. We don't know if she has that level of talent yet. She's had so much bad luck this season. She hasn't been able to put a full race together because of one bad luck deal or another, and it's things that she can't control. So I want to see a race out of her where there's no bad luck, and I think she can get the job done. I think we could see top 5s, top 10s, wins, whatever it takes out of Natalie Decker week in and week out if she can just get rid of the bad luck. And down here at the bottom of the results, Brandon Jones started on the pole. Didn't make it very far in this one. Lap 27. Just had all kinds of problems there in the beginning. Ended up with a motor problem at the end that was the end of the day for him. But there were problems before that just... He had a very fast car in practice and obviously starts on the pole. And then apparently there seemed to be some miscommunication between his team and the ARCA officials. Something about they ran the car out of water in the radiator for qualifying, and then I guess the ARCA officials wouldn't let them put water back into the car after qualifying, so they ended up just, I guess, blowing the engine during the race because of this. Sounds a little sketchy to me, but it is what it is, and that's the information we were provided on that. So I don't know. I guess 22nd on the day is where Brandon Jones will fall in this one. So that's your results from the Zomongo 200. Now let's take a look at the points before we wrap up here today. As we see, Sheldon Creed reassumes the top spot in the points. Not really a surprise, as he and Zane Smith were only about 10 points apart last week. And Zane, obviously, as we saw, did not have the greatest of weeks in this one. Now 60 points below Sheldon Creed. Really not a lot of changing below that until you get down into the bottom portions of the top 10. Chase Purdy jumps up a spot. Natalie Decker falls 2, although she is tied for 6th with Gustine. Gustine does have the tiebreaker for that spot with better finishes. So that's why he sits in 6th right now. But they're both 400 points back from Sheldon Creed. Brett Holmes also drops a position, and then Brandon Grosso drops out of the top 10 after missing 2 weeks now. So that moves Joe Graff Jr. up to 9th. And Con Nicolopoulos back into the top 10. Now, the interesting thing about these point standings is you've really got Sheldon Creed and Zane Smith really pulling away and exerting themselves as the 2 championship contenders this season. That being said, you've got a really good battle here from about 4th on back through... you could throw Brett Holmes into that in 8th as well. And it just takes one bad race for Riley Herbst to be back in this mix as well. I mean, he's got a little over a 100-point gap between himself and Travis Braden, but I mean, we're talking barely over 100 points separating 4th to 8th right now. So Travis Braden, Chase Purdy, Gus Dean, Natalie Decker, and Brett Holmes all really having their own kind of battle here down here below Sheldon Creed and Zane Smith, who have both had absolutely stellar starts to the season. It's interesting kind of to watch this here from 4th to 8th because it seems like they change hands every week. Travis Braden is the only one of those 5 drivers that didn't change positions this week. And I think as we go along through the season, I think Joe Graf Jr. will probably move himself up into there as well if he continues to have the great finishes that he's had. He's only 200 points back from Brett Holmes, so I think he could move himself into that battle as well. So, I think that's all we got for you this week on the ARCA Rewind show. Like I said, a little light on content this week, but I'm at the mercy of what is given to me. So I apologize for that, and hopefully next week's ARCA Rewind show from Madison will be a little meatier for you. We will be at Madison, so if nothing else, we'll get our own content to stick in here from the track to help you out and to see what happens from Madison. So, that'll do it for this week's ARCA Racing Series Rewind show. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing from Racing News Now. And hit that big thumbs up button if you like the video. It is much appreciated when you do. So with that, this has been the ARCA Racing Series Rewind show. I'm Garth Allen for Racing News Now.